where you've got smaller, a lot of patrons who buy for whatever reason, either as for the aesthetics or for a store of value, or to just be part of the storytelling, whatever it is. How is that then shaping our narrative in Nigeria, shaping the way our society is evolving vis-a-vis when you had just a few patrons, who supported the art? Are you seeing any clear distinctions?
Yes, there are. That you refer to the Medicis. The social, the cultural, and even economic context where these transactions were taking place were completely different. But nowadays here in Nigeria, there is still a substantial difference between what is happening in the art world or art system in Nigeria and what is happening in many other places in the world. Here, most of the transactions are personal. By that, I mean this. You know an artist in Abuja, and you call her or you call him, or you go to visit her, or you see an artwork of her there in somewhere. And in many cases, though this is changing, you can still contact that person directly. And then you establish a personal relationship. And this changes everything. In the West, is now very rare. You buy in art fairs, you don't see the artist, you don't meet the artist, you buy through galleries, rarely you will meet the artist. Yeah. You buy through dealers who will not want you to meet the artist because they want to have their cut, and they are there precisely to do that. And I understand it, they are playing an important role. So it's a different relation between patron and artist. In a way, there are few patrons in the West now. There are many buyers. The art market globally, I read recently, last year, it was around, I think, $62 billion. The size of the global art market was $62 billion. Now, Nigeria has a 0.000% of this 62 billion. Because even of Nigerian art, yes. But yes and no, because, I used to publish an art market report. I don't know, you remember, in the late 80s, analyzing the market. It was not about the art, it was about the art market. And there was, for some years, in volume and in price, the highest was Lagos, the highest location for the buying and selling art. But this changed in the early 20s and the late in 1920, when first Bonhams, then Sotheby's opened African auctions in London. Then there was a quite sudden transition from Lagos that started going down to London that started going up. And then in value, London became the main place for buying and selling African or Nigerian art. So much so that you have, I will not say many, but you have some Nigerian collectors who will take a plane to London the day before the auction, buy an artwork that was in Lagos 4 weeks before, buy it in London, and then bring it back. In the process, pay several times more than what they would have paid here. Yeah. This wasn't crazy. It's not that these people didn't know what they were doing. If I buy an artwork in Sotheby's or Bonhams, immediately it gives me something. And if I want to sell it, I know I am in a very good position. Yep. Because they came from, whether this is a guarantee of value or not, that's a different thing. But it gives me, I can present this. Now, if I bought it here from so-and-so who had it from his uncle, who had it there somewhere in Shomolu, and it's going to be different. So it wasn't crazy on their part to go to London, buy it. Some cases it was that it wasn't available here, and it was only available there. But so this change, and it's changing. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any auction house now. Art House, Mrs. Chelaram, hasn't had the auctions that she used to have for years. So there is a change here that is taking place. I don't know where we are going, but definitely there is a change taking place now.
Very good. Now, so let's talk a bit about museums, right? You know, museums are really important in the story we're weaving here. They are custodians of identity. They could play a much bigger role. How do you conceptualize the role of museums in building, one, national identity, you know, two, playing a role in just driving national development? Broadly speaking, museums, and what does that mean for you at the Yemisi Shilo Museum?
I'm glad that you say this at the end, because I was going to start saying, for us, the issue of building national unity is not an issue. It's not in our mission. It's not what we are trying to achieve. The important thing here is that we talk of a museum, but there is no museum. There are museums, and each of us, each one has or can have a different mission. So what is the mission of the museum where I work? I can tell you. We are within an educational institution, and we see our mission not as changing society in that sense of the big national issues or national development. No, we see it as the impact that we can have on persons. So when we always say, in our case, that we are not a collection center museum. If I were the director of the National Museum, for me, the most important thing will be the collection. I have a heritage in my hands. What do I do with it? That will be the main question. So it will be about preservation, about documentation, about dissemination, about display. But I am not in the National Museum. Let me take another example. If I were the director of the Randall Center here in Lagos for Yoruba culture, my mission will not be national. It will not be the educational mission that we have at the Shilo Museum. It will be a different one, to promote, to push something else related, in this case, to Yoruba tradition, heritage, culture. Now, if I were the director of the new museum in Benin, I will still have a completely different mission. That, in some ways, it could be related to these big national issues, but again, it's more circumscribed, it is smaller, but more focused. So there are many museums, there are many missions, and depending what the mission of the museum is, why we are, this is something that in our museum, we were very fortunate. We opened in 2019. Then for us, COVID was a blessing in disguise, but a blessing, because we opened the museum and a few months later we had to close it down. And then we remain working from home, but we remain working. We work all of them full-time from home. And it gave us time to think, to ask ourselves, what do we want to achieve with this museum? So the result of those months there was that we produced I don't know if it was good, but at least a well thought out strategic plan that defined first our mission. Because initially we thought we want to change the world. We are here to change how museums are in Africa. Little by little, we narrow it down. Now we see, let's see we can change Ibejuleki.
Yes.
We would like to reach the whole world, but let's see we can change the 2,500 students that we have in Pan Atlantic University. Later on, we will see whether we can do more. Perhaps we are not ambitious enough, but we are much more focused. Say, what can we offer to these young boys and girls in a university like Pan Atlantic University? What can we offer that is of value? We don't have a faculty of fine arts in Pan Atlantic University, but we think that we are a very useful unit to the university. And when people ask what, from the Vice Chancellor to everybody else, we repeat the same sentence. What is our role in this university? facilitating critical thinking. It's not entertaining the tourists. It's not to promote Nigerian art, and we are an art museum. It's not to preserve a heritage, though we try to preserve a heritage. No, it's to help people through art and with art and using art to go beyond art. So, for instance, now we are designing a program on civic transmission of civic values through art. How do we transmit respect, solidarity, integrity, etc.? How can we help these young boys and girls